Recently, I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with Spencer McComb, who is the founder and owner of Cordtsen Design here in Newport, Rhode Island. With offices in a beautiful old Victorian right on the Newport-Middletown line, Spencer and I got to sit down and talk about how an architect can help you, buyer of land, determine how your home should sit on the land, how to design that, how to get the most bang for your buck for the amount of space that you have, and how to walk through all the approval processes. This is a great conversation. I think you're going to enjoy it. And if you have questions for Spencer about building property or doing a remodel or reconfiguring your own home, you can give him a call at Cordtsen Design at 401-619-4689. I hope you enjoy this. So finally, hi Spencer.
Hi.
I'm Sandi.
Hi, Sandi.
Thank you for agreeing to interview with us today.
Sure.
Welcome to everyone who's watching. We are doing an interview with Spencer McComb, who is the owner and lead architect at Cordtsen Design in Newport, Rhode Island, and soon to have an office in Tampa, Florida, I understand. So the reason we thought you guys would find this interesting is because architects can help people who are looking to buy homes, particularly in this older area where so many people come out of the area and these homes need renovation. They're 100 years old, they're 150, 200, 300 years old. Or if you're going to start something new, maybe you're going to change a building from its current use and you're going to take it from, didn't you just do some sort of manufacturing unit over to a restaurant style unit?
Yeah.
So this is where an architect comes in. So Spencer, how did you get started in architecture in Newport?
Well, I went to school at Roger Williams in Bristol. I'm from the Midwest originally. Got a job working for a firm in Newport, and that.
Who was that?
Newport Collaborative Architects.
Okay, sure.
So that was 12 years, my first 12 years, and then it's been about 12 years since I've been having my own company. So that's how I arrived and how I'm here.
Where was your office before? Right now, if you're watching this and you're in the Newport area, you probably pass Cordtsen Designs pretty regularly. The office is at 42 West Main Road, which used to be, for all you old Newporters, it used to be Kitchen Potpourri. And then after that, it was Beach House. So that should really highlight for you guys where this building is. Where were you before this?
I started in my house, so that was on Holland Street at first, and then we graduated to Thurston, which I had like half of my house. My family was in the lower half, and my office was in the upper half. And then this was sort of like the big boy office, which was about 5 years ago, thanks to you as a listing agent. We found ourselves here, and we're super grateful for it.
It's you've done a beautiful job with the building. We love it. So let's talk a little bit about, recently I had the opportunity to come in with some clients who were looking at finished land in Portsmouth, and Spencer had done some designs for them. So that's where I really got to see firsthand how this process works. So my question to you, Spencer, is if someone is building brand new, is it more common to have raw land or finished land? Or is that not even the right question to ask?
Finished land meaning it's got utility stuff to it, or?
Well, maybe let's talk about what that definition is, because you see that land listed on the MLS, and some of it will say we have X, Y, and Z approvals, and some will say utilities. So I guess there's a bit of a mix of that, right?
So I would say typically people do not have a design already in place if they're reaching out to me. So we normally get, I guess you'd call it raw land, where it was undeveloped, and then we've got to find out more about it. Make sure it's got a survey at first, see what the utility connections are, and so we know we have a viable project. Then we look up what the setbacks are, if there's any easements or other issues that we need to know about. And then we have that blank piece of paper with that square in it or whatever the shape is that we've got to design within. But those are the things we got to decide at the beginning. And then working with the owner to find out what their interests are, or their wish list, what they want to put on the property.
Is there like a checklist or something that you use to know who are the approvals? I think sometimes it's hard to know, do you always need a wetland inspection? Do you always need coastal resources management or historic district?
So coastal is within 200 feet of the water. So obviously if you're on the water, then you will need coastal. Sometimes there's a building that's already inside the coastal setback where they would never let you build normally, but if you have a house there, they're not going to make you tear it down, and they give your grandfather rules to work within. So if you're on the coast in Rhode Island or in any, well, I know for Rhode Island for sure, you need to talk to coastal. Wetlands and streams and whatnot definitely are DEM issue unless they're connected to the coast. So both DEM and coastal don't exist on the same property. So
Gotcha.
if there's let's say a creek or a marsh or something, and it's kind of connected to the ocean or the bay, that's going to be coastal. But if you're in Richmond, it's going to definitely be DEM.
Got it. So
And
that's
so-
a good way.
If you notice a river, even a wetland area, then you need to figure out what that is and get it marked, staked by a wetland biologist. And then we always contact DEM and just see what they know and ask for guidance from them as well.
They would then say to you, hey, we don't know anything about that land, or, oh, actually, we do know you've got this issue on the northwest corner, or, you know, you got this running through the center of it.
They typically know
They know.
about everything. Yeah.
Okay.
But if they don't, you can't just proceed as if no one knows. You got to deal with it. If there's what looks like a wetland area, you got to stake it off and figure out what you got. So
Why is that important for building?
well, because if you go to get a permit and the inspector or the town sees there's wetland and you've already spent thousands and thousands of dollars on drawings and builders and all that stuff, the whole project could come to a screeching halt if you're not within the setback amount from these wetlands. So you should find that first so you're designing around it instead of going in as if you don't know or care and then finding out later after you've spent a bunch of money on maybe a house that you can't build because it's too close to the wetland, etc.
Gotcha.
So yeah, important.
And then for utilities, what if you're building in an area that there's no utilities around?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something an architect could help builders figure out? Have you ever run into a situation where they can't run electricity to it or they can't run plumbing to it?
Well, it's never can't, it's always how much money. So, National Grid is tasked with connecting any potential customer with their grid. So they're gonna kind of work out a way. They sometimes put that owner back on the person developing the land. So let's say you want to develop a big parcel with multiple lots on it. National Grid will come to you and give you all the information and tell you how they're going to do it, but they may assess some sort of fee to bring it, however close the next one is over to you.
That makes
So
sense.
it really varies, but electricity is probably the toughest one. A lot of places, even in Portsmouth, don't have water or sewer, so we're doing wells and septic.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, there's people who can't get cable or whatever, so they're doing internet over a dish or something like that.
Wow. So if clients come to you and you've helped them put the land, you've done all these surveys and everything, you're like, okay, we're ready to build.
Yeah.
How do you tease out of the client what their inspiration is? I almost picture it like, the poor drawing people at the cop station, the police station, like, what did they look like? Well, it had a roof and it had, how do you kind of get to that visually?
So most people have a general sense of what they want to do. By
Do they
the
bring you
time
pictures, magazines?
Well, yeah, some pictures. It's more the wish list of what they want. They come in saying, I need a 3-bedroom, I need a 5-bedroom, I want to add a kitchen, I want to expand my kitchen. They know kind of what they want. So then it's our job to tease out of them all the stuff they haven't thought about, ask them more penetrating questions about this or that. Just left a meeting before here where they were talking about they needed a laundry room and they needed a hallway connecting their garage to the kitchen, and that turned into a mudroom. And she said, we've always wanted a mudroom. I'm glad you asked about that. It wasn't on my list, but that would be a great solution here. We don't really have a mudroom. So it's kind of like pulling out the things that maybe they haven't thought of yet. And since this is what we're doing every day for the last 25 years, we've seen a lot of different things. We've experienced a lot of different things. So we kind of know the questions to ask to kind of get them and fill out the design, ask the questions that make sure we've got all the pieces. And a lot of times, just in drawing it geometrically, there'll be little areas that make sense for other things. Like sometimes a little space will be a good safe, and so I'll write safe in there with a question mark and ask the owner. And some people are like, I don't need a safe, and other guys like, I'd love a safe. That'd be perfect. So we kind of like, sometimes there's little areas that tend to show themselves during the design segment, and that gets added to or subtracted from the wish list that the client comes in with.
Yeah. And then when does it make the most sense if you're doing a renovation, which I think we see mostly here, where can an architect save you time or money or really make that process better for you?
Yeah. So if you're going to do a project and it needs to have a shape, it's really hard for a layperson to start drawing that. One, you've got to give direction to the contractor about what they're going to do. Two, you got to give something to the town so that they know what you're going to build. You need something to give to the guy who's going to do the framing plan, the engineers. Like there's really a need for an architect in almost all building projects. No doubt a small reno inside where you're taking out some cabinets and you're going to lay out maybe a different kitchen, let's say, may not need us at all. But for the most part, if you're expanding or changing dramatically, if there's no plan of attack, you can imagine how confusing that's got to be for everybody involved. So your efficiencies go way down if the electrician's making up his own thing, the carpenter's making up his own thing, and they're going off of maybe someone who says, hey, I want a new kitchen, and then shrugs about how or where or when, how many things are in it. So to get a plan just keeps everyone on task. Building's pretty tricky already. So without a drawing, you're just setting yourself up for a nightmare of problems that could be caused by any and all parties. Not on purpose, they're all trying to help, but they all don't know the big plan. So that's what an architect does, is just organize all of that stuff. So at least everyone's responding to a plan. And even with that, they're going to have questions and they're going to have things that are individual to their own needs. But at least you're that much further down the road. So I can't really imagine how to really pull it off without a drawing of some sort.
So it's not just the architect doesn't just draw you the plans and say bye-bye. The architects kind of, are you almost quarterbacking the, not really the role of the general contractor, but the working with the general contractor?
Yeah. So we see the architect's role as sort of a three-legged stool, if you will: the owner, the contractor, and the architect. For sure, at the beginning of the project, it's mostly architect and owner. But then, once those plans get developed to a way and get handed off to the owner and the contractor, it becomes the contractor's game. So that once they're off and running, we are here to support that process. There's going to be questions. There's going to be little changes. Some of them don't need to be documented. Other ones are going to make a major problem to the project. And just because someone has an idea doesn't mean it's a good one, so we need to figure out what it is. A lot of times they are good ones and you're refining the design during the construction process. But for the most part, if you don't have someone helping out and you don't have a third party, the owner is stuck with the contractor who has a vested interest in a certain thing, not to maybe get the full picture of why the contractor is suggesting this, why he wants to do it his way. There's nobody else to ask. So it gives you three people who are all hopefully working together in a team-like atmosphere, but all come at it from a different standpoint. So the contractor may be thinking about the quickest, fastest way he can get it done. And I may be thinking about, is that the best for you? And is it the best way to do it? Because I've seen it a bunch of different ways. So together we can talk through that and give them something that looks good, something that functions a long time, and hopefully is efficient to build.
That makes sense.
So our role is much diminished during the construction process, but we're still part of the team for the most part. That could be a couple hours over the course of a whole project. It could be every Tuesday. I could be on site. And we work that through with the owner. And sometimes I draw drawings, the owner and the contractor work together, they call me at the end, everyone high fives. Isn't that great? Awesome. I'm fine with that too, but we want to be, usually it's somewhere in the middle.
I think sometimes the reaction that I often get from buyers is they think buyers are like, or they think architect like lawyer. Like if you even talk to an architect, you're in at 10 grand.
Yeah.
Is there anything you could address that way to like encourage people to at least have a consultation and find out what it would be?
Yeah. So the way we work is meet with somebody, typically on site, because although I love my office, the project is with them.
Right.
So I meet them wherever they are. We look at the project together. They give me their wish list. I explain how architects work, how we bill, try to give them as comforting factor as possible. I actually just find myself in the position of just educating them about what architects do and what our role is and how we can help the process, much like we're doing today. And then I write down everything and give them a proposal so they can see, hey, here's how much the architectural services cost for these different phases, so that they can then make a decision whether they want to hire me or not. So they really haven't spent any money. I'm going to give them my best ideas at the time, like, hey, have you thought about this? What about this? What's the setbacks? All the things that jump to my mind of 25 years of experience, so that they at least can walk away with something, even if they don't hire us.
Right.
At least, hopefully made a positive impact on them and
helped educate them on the process.
Yeah. And if they don't use us or they want to use another architect, awesome. We got plenty of work, just here to spread the good cheer, I guess.
Yeah. There's how many projects would you say you've done on the island? I feel like I see your name everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I started with Newport Collaborative, so that was a bunch of projects that are on the island. I'd say it's over 1,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
It's like naming your favorite kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always excited about the next one. I know that sounds like generic, but I got married in one of them, so that's got special sentimental value for me as well. I designed a church, and then I designed a clubhouse when I was pretty early in my career, and then I got married at that church and had the reception in the clubhouse. So that's
awesome.
That was pretty good.
Can I say what I think I know the clubhouse?
So it was Christ Church in East Greenwich was the church, and then the clubhouse was Carnegie Abbey, which is now the Equipment Club.
Yeah.
So that was just a fun, cool thing, and the places, both of them were pretty much brand new. So
wow,
it's just a really neat situation.
And what a great spot for a reception out at Carnegie Abbey. We were just there 2 weeks ago. Oh, it's beautiful.
It was April, so we were really nervous it was going to be cold. It turned out to be a nice night.
It was fine, right?
Yeah, right.
What do you have any feeling on what is changing in style? I think one of the things that I really notice, and now of course shiplap, thank you Joanna Gaines, is everywhere. Black window sills, which I saw you did. Yeah. Anything else that you're seeing a lot of currently?
So I would say sure there's some aesthetic things that are always sort of, what's hot today, and I get a little nervous in that, although I think shiplap's cool and board and batten siding is cool, and I like changing it up. Most of my clients are almost to a T. They're all like 55 years old. They've all saved up their money. They're finally going to do that house. The kids are either in college or out of college, and they're like, it's time to build that house.
Yeah.
And so they also don't want to hand themselves a nightmare of maintenance, because they've been fighting maintenance on whatever house they've been in. So maintenance free or low maintenance is a big ask. Mm-hmm. And then first floor master suites are also a big ask. So that's we're always trying to fit those in and work those in. Obviously offices that are in the house are now much more important than they were a couple of years ago for obvious reasons. And so, because I kind of get that everybody designed in that world. And at the time, that 70s house was the coolest thing anyone had seen.
So you probably noticed that video cut off pretty abruptly. One of my cameras died, but I didn't want to lose any of the footage of talking with Spencer. I'm hoping we're going to do some more videos with him, and I would love to hear from you. What do you want to hear from an architect? Do you want to know what the current styles are? Do you want to know what are the best materials to work with? Or do you want to ask specific questions? So let me know what you think. Drop us a comment in the comment box down below. Don't forget to click the subscribe button, hit that bell if you want to get notified anytime we do a new video. And thank you so much for watching. I'm SandiWarner with Warner Realty Group, making the complex simple.